On the outskirts of the town, they stop to pump up the tyres for the final time. Julian has proved that the 100-pound cars can make it across the largest desert in the world. Mystical Omar shows Julian one last desert trick, an electric pump. The rest of the rally aren't far behind and triumphantly make it into Nouakchott. But the guides are less useful around the town than they are in the desert, and it takes a while to find a hotel. After 4 days in the desert, the teams treat themselves to the best hotel in town. Not that this means a great deal in Nouakchott, but the place does have a pool. And after all their hard work, the old cars aren't even rewarded with a wash. After a tough few days, the guides are resting too. After the break, the rally arrives in Senegal.
C'est très bien le voyage. Comme les 7 voitures, beaucoup en panne. Après, je trouve le marché, je n'ai pas de problème.
Campbell broke. Well, Steve said he bets his bollocks that the valve's spent, so there's not much point in trying anymore.
Both Team Wilnuts and Team Hadley abandoned their cars in the desert. The problem they now face is that they will have to pay a huge import tax on the cars when they try to leave the country.
The guide, Omar, has just gone off to get a stamp in our passport saying that it's alright. Don't really know. It's either going to say it's been exported or something like that. Not quite sure.
Omar has collected €100 from each team to bribe an understanding customs officer.
Il m'attend 10 minutes. 10 minutes et je l'amène le passeport. No problem. Ça c'est moi je le garde. Quel problème ça m'arrive avec le problème. C'est pas tranquille. Aucun problème.
We hid it behind a dune and covered it in oil and then spattered sand on the side so no one could see it. And the guide's going back to pick it up some other time. Probably make some money out of it. We'll have quite a lot of stuff in there, like tools and all stuff like that.
Sure enough, Omar turns up with the necessary passport stamp.
Ça c'est ici déchargé à Nouakchott. C'est fini la voiture. Caché la douane.
That's not me. I want the other one.
C'est à toi.
The other passport. See, that's not me. Do I really look like that?
A little bit.
Before it's a good
Chris has agreed to sign the car over to Abdullah, who is going to try to recover it.
What to do when your car cracks up in the desert and you want to sell it to some bloke illegally with some hooky stamp. To someone who is not Nostra, please use the blue part over there to do so right, and you keep his name and address in section B.
The customs officer who has issued the release stamp at a cost of €100 turns up to help with the paperwork.
For name, Abdullah.
No.
He haven't address. He have his telephone. You understand?
Yeah, and what? No
Lui qui n'a
address
pas
at all.
d'adresse postcode, c'est ça.
Postcode. You've got a, what? You've got a phone number. No address, but a postcode.
Lui n'a pas de adresse.
You can always put his GPS for You can't fuck this up. They're just going to do the They're going to get this and just chuck it in a bin. They're going to what? That the sale or transfer here. So. Oh, this is you, isn't it? New keeper.
Is there an on option to scrap it? Just say you scrapped it.
Vous attendez moi,
You scrapped the vehicle, here we go.
Alright.
Only tell us that the vehicle has been scrapped if it's actually been broken up or destroyed by you.
That's
which
true.
it did.
It was scrap, wasn't it? This bloke's just scrapping. He's just a scrap. He's a scrap. He's a scrap dealer.
Rag and boneyard.
Yeah, it's all shit.
Costly.
Yeah, good thinking, Jim. Lovely. Stay lucky. You get that. Thanks very much. That's it. Everyone's happy. Yeah, enjoy it. It's a great little car. It's a great little car. Keep your goats in it. The petrol tank's ruptured, the sump's knackered, and there's no clutch in it. Many happy miles of driving.
Merci.
Merci.
Merci very much.
With no real idea of whether the passport stamp will be enough to allow him out of the country, Chris waves goodbye to the guides, the customs officer and €100.
I've won the car! Good. Thank you.
Team New Forest Stallions are also being taken advantage of.
Yesterday.
Tennis.
Encore.
Okay. One more. For the tea, gas.
Oui, gas.
Just a moment. Just a moment, please. Just a moment. I need this for the desert. For the desert. That's for the desert. Okay. That's for the desert. No, I have no more. This is just for the desert. My companion. Just a moment, please. That's all. I need for the desert. I need for the desert.
The car park attendant does very well out of Jim's generosity. Having made it across the desert, the Cobb cruisers are preparing to drive back to England.
Going back lightweight. Coming out, staying out. Learn our lesson.
After just one day, it's time to leave Nouakchott and make the short tarmac drive to the Senegalese border. The river is the border between the two countries, but there's a local ferry that will take the cars to the other side. At the border, one of the chief of police explains to Julian how much he'll have to pay. Julian tries to collect the money from each team.
We pay 1,000 for car and 500 for passport.
Right.
Do you want them now? Because they've got the money and they're up.
As usual, it's chaos, as passports and money are passed around between the officials.
Monsieur, qu'il a déjà payé la voiture. Je ne sais pas comment, l'essentiel celui-là, il a déjà payé la voiture. Il n'a pas de problème.
Yeah,
If you have any
I
money
have 1,000.
Okay.
And then I have
Fine.
only.
Fine. Okay.
It's last hour.
This is a gift from the British nation to the Latvian nation.
Ok, après, vous ne donnez rien du tout.
Rien du tout à personne. Et vous débarquez.
Ni la police, ni la douane, ni celui qui vous dit quelque chose, vous allez voir les...
But his subordinates have other ideas.
2000. Chaque voiture 2000.
Tout est payé ici. Ouais. Moi, pour l'embarquement, 5 euros. Chaque voiture. Ouais. Pour l'embarquement, 5 euros.
Eventually, after 2 hours and a few more bribes, they finally load the cars on the river ferry. It's a short ride to the other side, but the day has already proven exhausting. As they approach the Senegalese side, vultures start to circle overhead. Senegal is the 6th country of the rally, and the borders are getting harder and harder to cross each time. Once again, Julian distributes the bribes on behalf of the rally.
See how much you have your retention. After the cost of pay here, what is your money? Check.
There is plenty of waiting around to be done, and before long it gets dark and the atmosphere turns nasty.
We spent about, I think, about 4 or 5 hours doing the formalities, bribing people generally, and then we had basically we had a standoff with a guy who was controlling the car park.
The cars are held in a compound, and the gate man is demanding a parking fee of 50 pence per car. Everyone is tired, and the standoff is made more tense by aggressive hustlers.
I know that a lot of the girls were being hassled. There were probably around 100 locals in there hassling people for money, etc. I've since heard that there were guys running around with razor blades asking for money. We'd all had a long day. We'd been on the road since 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, and there was only so much we could take.
It's a clean escape. All the cars make it safely out of the compound. But there's a roadblock a mile out of town, and while all the paperwork is being inspected, the gate man catches up. To make matters worse, the 2CV is conked out and has to be hitched up to one of the lardars. Jackie and Karen, co-drivers in the first cars through the gate, are visibly shaken.
I just thought we were going to kill someone.
Jackie, you right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not funny, is it?
He did used to do banger racing. So, I mean, he did it more than me, but so he is used to random things. He normally has broken legs.
Not through borders, though, eh?
They did say that was the worst in the world, though. Someone
Yeah,
told
well,
me.
I believe I'm not coming back. I would never do it again. I feel really bad now. The next lot that comes through.
Then, to everyone's amazement, the customs officer hands back the paperwork and allows the rally to continue.
Yeah, it is.
We didn't. They were going to hold us there and keep. But basically, it was going up and up and up all the time. It was 500, then it was 1,000 a car.
Per car?
Yeah.
So did we pay for one car then?
No, we didn't pay.
I don't suppose anybody knows if we're still on the run.
I think technically we are.
Stopping for snacks and petrol.
And we're also harbouring 2 illegal immigrants.
Oscar and Maris didn't have the right documents for Senegal and had to pay a bribe to get into the country.
Oh, my document. It is a good document.
He's well happy.
Ferg has been hit by a stone which smashed the passenger window.
Grabbed that, accelerated as hard as I could, went through the gates, braked really hard to stop running the car in front of me. The car behind me smashed into me.
We hit the Hunter, and I think we hit it quite hard, so it went straight into the back of you then.
That would have been a much fight.
Yeah.
Mind you, you knew that, so you would have pushed them.
Yeah. No,
No, we pushed them as it was.
When they said come and get stoned in Senegal, it wasn't what I was imagining.
So you hit the fence to the front?
Yeah. Any damage?
No, it's had the bump hit there, and it's... Well, there was a small dent there, but it's just ripped the body out a bit, so... Yeah.
And then the Germans hit
she's
it
done
as
well.
did they?
What a story.
The next morning, in the tranquil surroundings of a safari camp near St. Louis, there's a chance to take stock of the events at the border. Hugh's 2CV is really showing signs of fatigue.
Slightly lowered front suspension here, mainly as a result of being third out through a gate on the Senegalese border. This now points skywards, which is quite handy for spotting planes. That's what a metal gate does to a 2CV if you hit it at about 15 miles an hour. accelerating on one cylinder, like a rather lumpy gazelle. Worked last night. Maybe the high beam worked.
The Hunter is also badly bruised. Ferg's eye has been patched up and the broken window has already been repaired. Everyone has a story to tell about the corruption at the border. Teams that came through on their own fared even worse.
In total, 140 euros.
You're doing all right, mate. With 280 euros it cost us.
28 euros for your insurance and 20 for the police for your car and the passengers.
What car was one side of the river, passport was the other side of the river.
He had it really sorted. What he did was like scream up to the gate, slow down just before, like so all the people scattered, and then floored it again and went boom through the gate.
It's going to be harder next year. They'll have bigger gates. You know that.
I nearly wish I was there now. Just for the action, you know.
I wish we were with a group. I know that.
Yeah.
You've got that BBOT on the back of your Granada. I just saw it getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then all of a sudden, that whole moment sitting there waiting.
I was expecting to see an angry mob walking up the street with knives.
Something out of Zulu.
I mean, even if you were going at a slow trot, you could run a kilometre in 10 minutes. They could have been up there before we'd have got through. No problem.
I was going to feel sorry for the guys that are coming over now.
Yeah, I've got to
They've got to go through it.
They've got to go through it today.
You never know, the gate might not have been repaired yet.
The Tortoise is in a terrible state. Only one of the cylinders is working and a team of mechanics help Hugh repair it.
So I think compression test is your way forward.
We can find one, isn't it?
Yeah. It's getting
Even then, I
a
think
compression
you're only
tester, isn't it?
for
You know.
a reason.
So I think you're probably looking at a valve, especially with the iron it's had and the fuel that are using around it. So. Thing is, if it has burnt out a valve, is there any possibility of actually getting one?
Later that evening, after a few too many beers, the boy who races Nova gets some unwelcome attention.
Stealing the wheels. Boy races car. Is the back one off the ground?
I didn't do it either. Right.
Where are my wheels? Well, at least I can look at the hubs anyway.
With the Senegalese forces of law and order hot on their trails, the rally spends another day chilling out at the safari camp.
Oh!
But it's time to leave for Gambia. It's been 20 days on the road now, and Gambia is where the flights for home leave from. Team 6 Pistons have made some final modifications to their Merc.
I think the missus will stand for Boomtown Rats this morning.
This camel rides like a pig.
It's 300 miles on good tarmac roads, passing through cities and countryside and completely bypassing Dakar. Another car that's looking worse for wear is Team Road Tripping's Escort. The engine has blown and it's using as much oil as fuel. At the Gambian border, Steve takes charge of the formalities and things go a bit quicker. Gambia, the 7th and final country on the rally, is English-speaking, but the conversation isn't exactly riveting as they wait for the ferry.
You take some pictures, very nice pictures, then I'll have it on.
No, I want the camera.
See, look here, it's beautiful. It's just now time flies.
No, I don't. I've got no money.
The language barrier is still a problem for the Latvians. And for Dan too.
I need a car, man. Can you help me one car?
As the day progresses, no one seems worried about the absence of the ferry. Across the mouth of the River Gambia lies Banjul, the final stop on the rally.
It's 10 kilometres away. It takes them 3 hours to walk to school. No car. No.
After the break, Team Road Tripping cash in. Unbelievably, the Irish have found a buyer for their car.
The guy there straight ahead is he's waiting for his friend to come back with the money. I presume these are all good, right? 360 euros what I finally got. Cost me £100 exactly, so that covers it. And whatever's left over I'll give it to cancer research. I don't know. They're stupid, they just don't have a clue about cars. But so, who owns the car now?
He's the owner.
Your
So,
car?
but come, you have to write something first.
That's for luck. For good luck. Bon chance.
For luck.
In Ireland, we always do that.
Okay, thanks.
He's going to need a bit more than luck with that engine. The longer it takes him to find reverse, the more smoke engulfs the car. And once it's in reverse, he'd then take it out again. Within 20 minutes, the buyers are back again.
Because the car is all sometimes much noise and with that price.
Well, bring back the car. I'll give you back the money.
Sorry? Oh, yeah, I do it. No,
You're saying give it.
But before they have a chance to honour their promise, another buyer steps forward.
So now everything is settled. Somebody want to buy it from me. Thank you very much. No problem. This is the game. So no problem, it's a business. This is Africa, we are all the same, no problem. Any car you bring, we buy. It depends. We don't got money, but we always try. Simple and easy.
But still, there is no sign of the ferry. But finally, at dusk, it arrives. As the ferry docks on the Banjul side, Fur cracks open a bottle of champagne to celebrate the end of the rally. It's time for the relaxing holiday they thought they were going to have in the first place.
Perfect. Decided we couldn't just give it away. It couldn't just be left somewhere. So this is going to be its spiritual home, and from here people are going to take it to remote parts of the world and hopefully bring it back. Steve, I think, is going to attempt to take it on some far-flung tour, and then the only rules are, obviously, you've got to get it there and bring it back and keep the ironing board in a vacuum with it. Otherwise, job's a good one.
Yep.
Long live the hunter, I say.
Bit of hug,
Actually, I will. Ah, it's bloody hot.
It's come through so much crap, and it's the least likely car to make it, and we finally got it.
I'm glad for the car that we made it, but look at that. Feel strangely attached to it now.
And there are four-wheel drive cars that came on this trip that have done less well than this car.
No expense spared. I thought it should be fitting. Bucks fizz.
Go on, Steve, step forward. The inaugural handing over. Hey!
Oh!
Hey! That's my baby.
Yes, we've become quite attached to that.
Yep, sad to see it go. It's tough.
Still, 2 CVs going as well.
I flogged it, 150 quid, what I paid for it. Yeah, quite an emotional moment really. It's a bit more knackered than I thought. The suspension's gone on the front left, so the tyre's rubbing against the footwell. But got here, did alright.
After conquering the Sahara, the mighty tortoise limps away to be broken up for parts.